Today's commander is one that, nobody's building, apparently. So, I want to show you something. Today's commander is one that I didn't see a whole lot of potential in until I realized that there's a type of card that I really favor, and this card just kind of abuses that type of card to the nines. This is Fandaniel, and Fandaniel is not a great commander, as evidenced by the fact that there's only 233 decks about him in one of the most popular and most well-selling sets of all time in Magic the Gathering. This guy is he's all over the place. People are building him Spellslinger, Control, Burn, Group Slug, but there seems to be no consensus on how to make this guy actually work, and people are just kind of not using him. So I guess we need to actually break that a little bit. We need to break that pattern of this being a commander that people just do not see the potential of. Let's go ahead and get into that. Fandaniel, with other words that I refuse to try to pronounce lest the Final Fantasy fans eviscerate me, is a wizard that has a very hefty mana cost of 5. But anytime we cast an instant or sorcery spell, we get to surveil 1, and at the beginning of our end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. And then, well, each opponent who did not do that then loses 2 life for every instant and sorcery in our graveyard. Now, we are going to be doing a very simple combo to win the game with this deck. And it's just, here, let me show you. It's the easiest thing in the world. Step 1, have the commander on the board. Step 2, cast a board wipe. Any kind of board wipe. Step 3, look at your opponents and say, hey, do you have a response for me casting not Corpse Churn, but Demonic Gifts? No? Guess I win! So, here's how this is gonna go. The commander is gonna see, 5 to 10 cards in the graveyard and burn our opponents for a lot. We're gonna wipe the entire board to make sure our opponents don't have cards in their board at all, so that they are forced to make the choice to burn very, very heavily. And we are going to use cards like Supernatural Stamina in order to make sure that we are always able to have our commander survive the board wipe. So in order to make this deck work, we're going to have to use a very hefty reanimation and recursion engine. We're going to be running cards like Corpse Churn in order to mill ourselves to increase the power of our commander's nuke, and also to get back the few creatures in our deck so that we always have access to them. We're going to be using similar effects to this with another chance that allows us to mill cards and then return up to 2 creature cards from our graveyard to our hand, and unseal the Necropolis, which will do effectively the same thing. Then we are going to run all the cards that work like Undying Malice so that we are able to have our commander survive these board wipes. So Undying Malice, Demonic Gifts, Abnormal Endurance, Return to Action, Vincent's Limit Break, Supernatural Stamina, all of these, Presumed Dead, Fake Your Death, these all do the same thing. They just let our creature die and then immediately return itself to the battlefield. We're also going to run a handful of actual reanimation spells, but only if those spells have a way to put things in our graveyard or have other abilities attached to them. So Summon Undead reanimates a creature, but it also allows us to mill. Cauldron's Gift reanimates a creature, but it also allows us to mill even more than Summon Undead. Liliana Death's Majesty allows us to revive creatures, but it also allows us to make token blockers while making us mill cards, which increases the power of our commander. Infernal Offering can reanimate creatures, but it also allows us to draw cards and make people sacrifice creatures as well. And we can also run cards like Forever Young and Resourceful Return, and these cards really only serve the purpose of getting a handful of creatures back to our hand, but they also allow us to draw cards so that we can dig through our deck and cantrip through as fast as we can. And I wish I could say that does it for the core strategy, but this deck is so hyper-focused that everything is the core strategy, so we just have to talk about draw power now. This deck is technically running a 16-card draw package, though this is including cantrips, so there are cards in here that do not draw us, but they do allow us to put an instant or sorcery in the grave, which increases the burn factor of our commander. So we'll go through each of these as we can. Cruel Truth lets us surveil 2, then draw 2. Funeral Rites allows us to draw 2 cards, then lose 2 life, and then mill 2, which is great for our deck. Resentful Revelation allows us to effectively look at the top 3, put 1 in our hand, and then throw 1 into the grave. Dire Sight allows us to surveil 2, then draw 2 as well. Read the Bones only lets us scry 2, draw 2, so Dire Sight is basically power crept version of Read the Bones. Starving Revenant lets us surveil 2, then draw 2, as long as we draw the cards we were surveilling. Sign in Blood and Night's Whisper allow us to pay 2 life to draw 2 cards. Siphon Mind allows us to draw 3 cards at the price of our opponents discarding a card each. And the War in Heaven lets us draw 3 cards, then mill 3 cards, then reanimate a bunch of little boys if we need. Then we're going to have some cantrips in here like Night Haze, Grave Consequences, Aphiotic Wisps, Desperate Measures, and Cremate that all have abilities attached to them, but it doesn't really matter. They just let us draw a card and then do something else. So Cremate can be used to stop a reanimation spell, but its big thing is that it's an instant that hits the graveyard and draws us a card. Same thing with Cling to Dust. And that does it for everything in the draw package of the deck. Honestly, this is going to be one of the most straightforward decks I've ever built, so we're just going to move right into the removal section, where things are going to get a bit more dense. Now we get to talk about the deck's removal and interaction package, and if you've seen me play Aristocrat decks, this is going to look really similar, but remember, the goal here is to make sure our opponents do not have access to creatures on the board so that our commander can burn them. So obviously, we're going to be relying on cards like Duskmangler a lot. This not only burns our opponents, but strips them of a ton of resources when it comes onto the board, making them lose cards in their hand and cards on the board. Extract Confession makes all of our opponents sacrifice a creature, though if we collect evidence, we can choose what kind of creature we want to get rid of. Fleshbag Marauder, Gaius Van Belzar, Demon's Disciple, Locust Heavy Destroyer, Plague Crafter, Accursed Marauder, and Wasteland Raider all make everybody sacrifice a creature. And we also get to run cards like Liliana's Triumph to make everybody sack a creature, Myron Misery to make everybody sack a creature or an enchantment, Archfiend of Depravity, allowing us to force all of our opponents to sacrifice creatures until they only have 2 left, Cornered by Black Mages, which makes an opponent sacrifice a creature and then makes us a Black Mage, which will increase the amount of burn damage we get to do over the course of the game, and Consuming Corruption, which will allow us to get a little bit of life gain and also get rid of indestructible creatures by just, well, not indestructible creatures. This one just makes a creature take X damage based on the swamps we have. I forgot that's a different card that I was thinking of. But then where we're really gonna get nasty is with our 8 board wipes. And I know I just made a deck with a bunch of board wipes originally, or like literally a day ago, but this is a bit different given that our commander needs to see all of the creatures on the board be deleted. So we're gonna be running Blood on the Snow if you upgrade the deck into having snow lands, and of course this will be able to just auto revive the commander. Necromantic Selection blows up all the creatures and auto revives the commander. Extinguish All Hope blows up all non-enchantment creatures. Blight Grenade blows up almost all creatures usually. Mutilate blows up all creatures on the board based on the amount of swamps we have. Blood Money kills everything and then also gives us treasures. Final Act can get rid of all creatures and other things if we need to. And Deadly Cover-Up blows up all creatures for 5 mana, which is one of the best rates of return we can get in black without spending money on a damnation. And that does it for all the removal. Remember, the plan is play removal, play a spell to keep our commander on the board, and then win the game. So let's see how things go with that. But in order to get there, we got to talk about ramp, because, you know, cards do be expensive. Now, we want to run a lot of multi-use mana rocks where we can. Cards like Planner Atlas, which can force us to have good draws for lands. Honored Heirloom, which can get rid of good cards in our opponent's graveyards. Unstable Obelisk, which can be a removal spell later in the game if need be. Mind Stone, which can grab us a card from our deck if we need it more than we need the ramp itself. But we're also going to run some basic all-stars like Prismatic Lens and Charcoal Diamond and Fractured Power Stone, as they are tapped or untapped 2-mana rocks, and of course Wayfarer's Bauble, since that can grab us any kind of basic land out of our deck. So, you know, swamps. Speaking of swamps, we're going to be running 24 of those. These guys right here are going to be the backbone of our deck, and we're going to run 10 utility lands on top of them. Myriad Landscape in order to ramp, and then cards that either can be cycled or surveil for us. Barren, Moor, Polluted, Mire, Desert of the Glorified, and what is the other one? Blasted Landscape, there we go, and Capital City. All of these lands can be cycled if we draw too many lands, and we're also going to run Conduit, Pylons, Gallifrey, Council Chamber, and Hidden Grotto, as each of these will allow us to surveil when we play them, and a Tocassia's Dig Site, as this will allow us to surveil whenever we need. So, very simple deck, very straightforward. Let's get into the gameplay. Looking at this opening hand, we have none of what our deck wants, but we do have ramp, and I'm okay with actually just starting with that. So let's go ahead and draw a card, play a swamp, and pass the turn. Drawing the next card for our next turn, we get to play another swamp, tap 2, play the Planar Atlas, and then look at the top of our deck and put a land on top. It's going to be the Capital City. Everything else is going to go to the bottom of our deck, and we're going to go into turn 3. This should say turn 3. There we go. Now that we're in turn 3, let's play the Capital City, and let's look at where we are at. We need to draw a card, so we're going to go ahead and get one card in our graveyard by using Night Haze. Ooh, that draws us a Myriad Landscape. Maybe I should have played that instead of the Capital City. That would have been a smart thing to do. Let's see. Desperate Measures gives a creature +1/-1. Let's go ahead and use that as well in order to draw another card. Then we move into turn 4. We have a Corpse Churn. We can't use it right now, so we're just going to crack the Myriad Landscape, go into our library, and grab 2 swamps out so that we have access to those for a follow-up turn. Let's also go ahead and play a swamp, and we don't want to do Corpse Churn just yet. Let's do Cling to Dust, get rid of our own Myriad Landscape so that we can draw a card. That gives us Liana. That's actually really, really good. And then we're going to pass to our opponents, moving into the next turn. All right, Grave Consequences. Each player may remove a number of cards from their graveyard from the game. Then they lose 1 card for each card in the graveyard. This is not going to do too much for us this early in the game. So what we need here is, let's see, Dust Mangler, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure, play Capital City. Let's go ahead and just play Dust Mangler. We'll play him manually. Let's go ahead and get him out. We'll lose 4 life. We'll make everybody discard a card and get rid of a creature. And that puts us in a better position since our opponents are all just building their resources up as we go. Moving into the next turn, we have the Council Chamber. Let's go ahead and play that and surveil. Ooh, Cruel Truths. That's a good card, but it's going to look even better in our graveyard, maybe? No, I think it's actually good for our hand. Let's keep it up top, and then we can play Grave Consequences. People can get rid of what they want in their graves. If not, then we're just going to put Cruel Truths in our hand. And then let's pay 1, 2, 3, 4. Play Cruel Truths. Look at the top 2. I want Vince's Limit Break. I don't want Extract a Confession right now. So we'll keep those guys. And then we'll pay 1, 2, get that Mind Stone out on the board, and prep for the next turn. We move into turn 7, and let's go ahead and pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get the commander out on the board and ready to go. We still have a couple things we can do. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. All right, this can put Cruel Truths in our hand, which we can use to get more cards. But maybe it's not the card to use. Maybe it's Extract a Confession? No, let's do Grave Consequences. Let's go ahead and play Resourceful Return to put Grave Consequences back into our hand. Or Creature card. It's Creature card. We can't do any of that, actually. Can't do any of that at all. I lied to me. I'm a terrible person. So, I guess we just do Corpse Churn and hope? Man, the problem that I'm running into is that I don't have the mana to do Infernal Offering. So fuck it. We'll do Corpse Churn. And let's see what we get in the grave. 1, 2, 3. We got a sorcery in the grave. We didn't get a creature up, but, you know, that's fine. That's entirely fine. Then our opponents are going to sacrifice a creature because, of course, they're going to. They're not going to allow our commander to just do what it's going to do willy-nilly to them. So we move into turn 8. Blasted Landscape. We do want to go ahead and play it. Nah, let's wait till we see what we get. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's play Liliana. Let's use Liliana to uptick 1 and create ourselves a token. Let's go ahead and make that zombie token, and that lets us mill 1, 2 cards. Demonic Gifts goes to the grave. Okay. Then we are going to play that Blasted Landscape, and Infernal Offering. Choose one, you sacrifice creature. Okay. Infernal Offering. Let me check something. At this stage, I think the correct thing to do is to tap 5, and let's go ahead and use Infernal Offering, sacrificing Duskmangler, reviving Duskmangler, and then that also lets me and the opponent draw 2 cards. I think that's what we do. And actually, that puts us in a pretty okay spot, all things considered, because by doing that, we have a board wipe. Sweet. Let's go ahead and use that. Let's move into our next turn, and ooh, Resentful Revelation. We can use that. Let's tap 2. Let's do Resentful Revelation so we can look at the top 1, 2, 3 cards of our deck and put 1 into our hand and the others into the graveyard. That's going to be our Cursed Marauder. And then we're going to pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to cast Blight Grenade to blow up all the creatures on the board except for, like, the handful of most powerful ones, right? That's what Blight Grenade's going to do. And then we're going to pay 1, 2, play a Cursed Marauder with an Undying Malice. This Cursed Marauder is going to make our Duskmangler die. No, it's gonna make itself die, and then come back. And then it's going to make our opponent, it's going to make us sacrifice another creature, which is going to be our Duskmangler. And then we're going to down tick 1, 2, 3, Liliana, and revive the Duskmangler to make them lose even more cards. So our opponents have lost all creatures on their battlefield. There's no way that they have creatures on their battlefield at all at this stage of the game. So now our commander is going to burn our opponents. And let's see what this burn amount looks like. There are 12 instants and sorceries in our graveyard. So our Duskmangler has burned our opponents 3 times throughout the game. So he's dealt 12 damage to our opponents. And our commander is now going to deal 24 damage to our opponents. And I completely forgot during all of this, every time we cast an instant or sorcery card, we've been surveilling 1. So I've missed a bunch of stuff. But our opponents are dead. Either way, it doesn't matter. We have burned them for well over 30 damage, and they've also taken damage from other things throughout the game. That's it. They're all dead. Let's just go ahead and call that dead opponents. If you are choosing to upgrade this deck, one of the strongest cards you can add in is a Boldus' Citadel. This will make great use of the cantrips in the deck, and after all, we don't need our life if we are storming out to win the game. Let's also throw in a Breach the Multiverse so that we can mill lots of cards to the graveyard, which will allow us to win the game that much easier. Ripples of Undeath allows us to mill lots of cards, which our commander really wants to see. Darkness Crystal can actually make it to where our cantrips that cost 2 mana now cost 1 mana, making it way easier to dig through our deck. Vuna's Hunger is not a board wipe, but it does something very similar, and it's an instant or sorcery version of one of our Fleshbag Marauders that actually is even stronger than that with a little bit of setup. Then we have Blasphemous Edict and Toxic Deluge and Damnation, just straight up upgrades to the board wipes the deck is currently running. And if you are running this deck, then you really want to sub out a lot of your swamps for MDFCs like Malakir Rebirth that do what the deck is already wanting to do. They just give you more cards that do that. Let's also throw in a Will of the Abzan. That way we can get back Fleshbag Marauders while also making our opponents lose creatures with a Fleshbag Marauder effect. And it's a sorcery, so it does exactly what our deck is wanting to do at all times. And that does it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is definitely a bit of a wonky one, but I think we might have a formula here for more people to enjoy playing Fandaniel. That all said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and as always, everybody, insert into video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.